What happens when Business Central handles most of your work, but one part of your business still does not quite fit? Maybe you need a special shipping process, or your finance team needs a local report, or staff keep typing the same data into two systems that just don't know them to talk to each other. Business Central already covers a lot. Oh, it helps you run finance, sales, stock, projects, and IO work from one place. But here comes the thing. No two companies work in exactly the same way. Think about your phone. It arrives with calls, messages, a camera, and basic tools, and then you install the apps that suit your life without taking the phone apart. Business Central extensions work the same way. By the end of this knowledge nugget, you will know what they are, where they fit, and what to check before you add one. What an extension actually is. So what exactly is an extension? An extension is an add-on package for Dynamics 365 Business Central that adds a capability you do now have in your standard setup or changes how a standard part works for your company. It can be as small as adding one required field to a customer card, so nobody can create a customer without entering a delivery preference. Or it can cover a whole business process. A shipping extension might create carrier labels, send parcel details to a shipping service, and bring tracking details back, while a banking extension could bring in bank statements and help match them against payments you already recorded. You do not need to be a developer to understand the basic idea. Think of Business Central as an office building where the standard app gives you the main rooms, AU, finance, sales, purchasing, stock, jobs, and more RU, with the doors, walls, wiring, and shared services already in place. An extension adds something around that building without knocking through its main structure. It might add a new room or place an extra tool on a desk you already use, adding a new button to a sales order, a new column to a list, a different layout for an invoice, or a connection to an outside service. Behind the scenes, an extension can add fields, pages, reports, actions, rules, and business logic. That last phrase sounds technical, so let us put it in plain English. Business logic means the rules that tell Business Central what to do. For example, a rule could stop an order from being released until someone enters a purchase order number, and another rule could send a document for approval when its amount passes a limit. The extension handles that rule, so your team does not have to remember it every time. Now, back before cloud apps and extensions became the norm, companies often changed the original Business Central code directly. Picture that AU changing the actual walls and wiring inside the office building. At first, that can solve a problem, but when Microsoft sends an update, the update expects the standard building to look a certain way, and your custom changes can clash with it. So then someone needs to check those changes, repair conflicts, and test the system before the update can safely continue. That work costs time. Extensions avoid much of that trouble because their code stays separate from the standard application code, so instead of rewriting the building, they attach a carefully built add-on to it. Microsoft can update the core application while the extension stays in its own package. That does not mean every update needs zero attention. An extension can depend on another extension, and its publisher may need to release a compatible version when Business Central changes But separating the extension from the standard code still gives everyone a much cleaner starting point. You can think of it like keeping a plug-in tool in its own case. The tool connects to the workshop when you need it, but it does not require you to rebuild the workshop first. And if you no longer need that tool, you can remove the add-on rather than pull apart the whole building. This changes the conversation from how can we rewrite Business Central for us, to how can we add the missing piece safely. That matters because standard Business Central already handles a huge amount of normal business work. So extensions should fill a real gap, not become an excuse to rebuild every screen just because the old system looked different. Sometimes the best extension adds one field and one check. Sometimes it connects Business Central to a service your company already depends on. Either way, the goal stays simple. Keep the standard foundation stable while adding the tools your people need. Next, we need to look at who creates these add-ons, because not every extension comes from the same place. The main types of extensions. So where do extensions actually come from? Them is not just one place, and knowing the difference helps you pick the right one for your business. The first type is called an app extension. Think of it as a packaged add-on that handles a specific job inside Business Central. For example, a shipping app can connect your orders to a carrier. A payment app can take card payments or send details to a payment service. A reporting app can add the reports your team needs every month. An app extension is like buying a ready-made tool for a job you already know you need done. You install it, set it up for your company, and your users see the new function right inside Business Central. It might add its own pages and fields, or place options inside pages people already know, like sales orders, purchase orders, or customer cards. Some app extensions come from Microsoft themselves. They supply add-ons for needs that don't apply to every company or every country. A local legal reporting pack is a good example. Tax rules, invoices, payments, and official documents differ from place to place, so one country may need functions another never uses. That separation keeps the standard product focused while still giving companies a way to meet local rules. Then we have ISV extensions. ISV stands for Independent Software Vendor. That sounds like a big technical phrase, but it really just means a software company that builds an app for many Business Central customers. An ISV might focus on warehouse work, retail, manufacturing, document handling, payroll links, electronic invoices, or industry reporting. Instead of building the same function from scratch for every customer, they create one app that many companies can buy or subscribe to. These apps usually appear in Microsoft AppSource, the online marketplace for Microsoft business apps. AppSource is useful when your need is common. Maybe lots of companies want to connect Business Central to the same shipping service, bank, or payment provider. Instead of paying someone to build that connection just for you, you may find an existing app with support, setup notes, and regular updates from whoever built it. That can save a ton of work. Still, an AppSource app isn't automatically the right choice just because it exists. You need to check that it fits your process, your country, and your version of Business Central. A good app solves a clear problem without forcing your team to change every part of their daily work around the app. The next type is a per-tenant extension, often shortened to PTE. A tenant is your company's own Business Central environment, so a per-tenant extension is an app built for your company alone, not published for every Business Central customer to install. Imagine a food distributor with a very specific way of calculating delivery charges. Prices might depend on temperature-controlled transport, delivery zones, returnable crates, and customer agreements built up over years. That process is probably too unusual for a standard shipping app. So a Business Central partner or developer can build a per-tenant extension around that process. The app stays within that company's Business Central setup, and it can match the way that company works. It may include a one-off link to an older system, a special approval process, or a screen built around a job only that business does. But custom doesn't always mean better. A per-tenant extension gives you a close fit, but someone has to own it. That means keeping notes, testing changes, and arranging support when your company changes the process or Business Central gets updated. If another company could use the same function, an existing ISV app might bring less long-term work. So how do you choose? Start with the business need, not the type of extension. If your need is common O, like bank statement import, parcel labels, electronic invoices, or a local report, you look first for a Microsoft or ISV app. You might find a mature app that already fits. If the need comes from a process unique to your company, a per-tenant extension may make more sense. There are also simple extensions that cover a narrow rule, like requiring certain fields before a user can save a customer or supplier. Those can be small, but they can prevent missing information from creating bigger problems later. Who built the app tells you where to look for support and updates. What the app changes tells you what your users will notice every day. How extensions change your daily work. So where do you actually notice an extension? Usually you notice it on a page you already use, or like a customer card, a sales order, an item card, or a posted invoice. That's often a page extension. It changes the screen without replacing the familiar page. Your team keeps working where they already work, while the extension adds the information or action your process needs. Imagine your sales team needs a delivery window for every customer. A page extension can add a delivery window field to the customer card, then show that same detail on the sales order. Nobody needs a separate spreadsheet or a note hidden in an email. The person entering the order sees the delivery rule right where it matters. Sometimes the change is even simpler. You might see a new button that sends a payment reminder, creates a shipping label, opens a linked document, or starts an approval request. The page still looks like Business Central, but now it supports the job your team needs to complete. This keeps work close to the record. Instead of asking users to remember 5 steps across different tools, the extension can place the next action right beside the customer, invoice, order, or item they're already viewing. Fewer handoffs usually means fewer missed steps. Reports change in a similar way. Business Central includes standard reports, but a company may need its invoice to show a special reference number, extra legal text, a different logo, or information a customer expects to see. A report extension can add that data or provide another layout while leaving the original report in place. Think about a sales invoice. Your finance team may need one layout for local customers and another for overseas customers. The first may show local tax details, while the second needs different wording and a customs reference. A report extension can add those layouts and pull in the fields each document needs. The standard report doesn't disappear. And that matters because you aren't replacing a familiar report with something completely separate. You're adding what your business needs while keeping the standard report as the base. Reports aren't only for documents you send outside the company. An extension can add columns to an internal finance report, show extra item details for stock planning, or include a company-specific field in a management report. If the data exists in Business Central, the report can bring it into the view people use to make decisions. Then there are permission set extensions. Permissions decide what each person can see, change, post, or delete. For a beginner, think of them like access cards for different rooms in your company. A finance user may need access to a new payment screen. A warehouse user may need access to a shipping action, but not the bank details behind it. When an extension adds a new page or process, it can also add the permissions users need for that new work. This avoids a common problem. An app gets installed, people can see its new button, but they can't use it because they lack access to the records behind it. A permission set extension helps connect the new function to the right roles, so access follows the job people actually do. You still need to decide who should receive that access. An extension can provide permission sets, but your company chooses which people or groups should use them. A new tool shouldn't quietly give every user more access than their role requires. Many extensions also connect Business Central to another online service. These are integration apps. They pass information between Business Central and a bank, a shipping company, a payment service, an online shop, or another business system. Take a finance team that receives bank statements every day. Without a connection, someone might download a file from the bank, upload it manually, compare each bank line to payments, and chase the entries that don't match. With a banking extension, the statement can come into Business Central and help the team match incoming and outgoing payments to records already there. The person still checks exceptions, but routine matches take less manual effort. The finance team can focus on the entries that need a real person to investigate. That's a practical use of an extension. It doesn't remove judgment, it removes repeated handling. Shipping apps work much the same way. A sales order can send address and parcel details to a carrier service. The carrier can return a label and tracking number. Instead of copying the same address into another website, your team starts the shipping job from the order itself. You can add these functions when you need them. If a business stops using a carrier, changes a payment provider, or retires a process, it may no longer need the related extension. That modular approach gives you more control than building every outside connection into the standard application. Still, every added app becomes part of your daily work. The next step is checking an extension carefully before it enters the processes your people depend on. Finding and installing apps. So you know a process needs help. Where do you look? Most people start with Microsoft AppSource or the extensions management page inside Business Central. AppSource is the marketplace where you can browse apps from Microsoft and other software companies. Extensions management is where you view and manage apps already connected to your own Business Central environment. Here's the key. I'll start with the problem, not an app name. Search for words your team already uses. Try shipping, bank import, approvals, electronic invoicing, warehouse scanning, payment reminders, or local reports. A plain search gives you a better chance of finding several options rather than picking the first app someone mentions. Imagine your warehouse team spends part of every afternoon copying order details into a carrier website. Don't begin by searching for a specific vendor. Instead, search for the carrier, parcel shipping, label printing, or shipment tracking. Then compare the apps that appear against the actual job your team needs to complete. Now, read the listing slowly. First, check the publisher. Who built the app and where can you find their support details? An app can look perfect in a short description, but you need to know who will answer when a shipment label fails to print or an update changes a process your team uses every day. Next, check which Business Central versions the app supports. Your company may use the online version of Business Central, or it may run a version kept on its own servers. An app needs to support your setup. Check the app description and the publisher Automass documentation rather than assuming every app works everywhere. Pricing needs a close look too. Some apps charge per user, some charge by company, by transaction, or through a monthly subscription. Others are free to install but connect to a paid outside service. A bank connector, for example, may involve charges from the app publisher, the bank, or both. Free does not mean skip the checks. A free app can solve a focused problem very well. It can also come with fewer support options, less documentation, or a limited feature set. Read what the app includes, what it does not include, and whether the publisher explains how updates and support work. Look for documentation before you install. Good documentation should explain what the app does, what you need before setup, which Business Central pages it changes, and how users work with it. It does not need to read like a textbook. But if you can automate it, find clear setup notes for a business process that affects orders, invoices, or payments. Pause there. Reviews can help, but read them with care. A 5-star review from a company in another country may not tell you whether the app works with your local reporting rules. A low review may describe a problem the publisher already fixed. Treat reviews as questions to investigate, not as a final answer. Once you narrow the list, test the app in a sandbox. A sandbox is a separate Business Central environment for testing. It gives your team a safe place to install an app, try its setup, and run normal business examples without changing the records people rely on for real work. Use real-life test cases. Create a sample order with the kind of customer item, tax rule, and delivery method that usually causes trouble. Ask the people who perform that work to try the app. A manager can approve an app on paper, but the person who enters orders may spot a missing field or an extra step within minutes. Test the awkward cases too. What happens when an address is incomplete? What happens when a payment fails? Can a user correct a mistake without calling a developer? Does the app produce the right report when a customer needs a copy next month? Those questions tell you far more than a polished product page. Before the app enters daily use, decide who owns support. Your internal IT team may handle the first call. Your Business Central partner may own setup and fixes. The app publisher may handle issues in its own code. Write that down, along with the support contact and the add-ons purpose. An installed app becomes part of a business process. That means the next questions involve the information it can access, where that information travels, and what happens when Business Central or the app changes. Security, data, and update questions. Before you approve an extension, ask a simple question. What information can this app see, change, or send somewhere else? That question matters because an extension can sit inside the same work your team uses for customers, orders, invoices, payments, and stock. Some apps only add a field or a report. Others connect Business Central to an outside service and exchange business data as part of the job. Not every app follows the same testing, compliance, or security standards as Business Central. Microsoft documents this clearly for apps from other providers. An app may contact other online services. It may process or store data outside your organization or temporarily chosen geographic region and compliance boundary. It may share data with another company, include AI-powered functions, or display content that doesn't fit your company AOTEM's policies. So don't treat an install button like a small choice. Here AOTEM is a concrete example. Imagine an app that sends invoice data to an outside document service. It may need customer names, addresses, item details, prices, tax data, and document numbers to do its job. That might fit your process perfectly, but your finance lead, IT team, and privacy contact should know where that data goes and who handles it. Ask the publisher to explain the data path in plain English. Which data leaves Business Central? Where does it go? Which country or region stores it? Does the app keep a copy, and for how long? Can the publisher or another service provider access it? If the app uses AI, what information reaches the AI service, and what happens to that information afterward? Read the privacy details and terms before you install. You don't need to become a lawyer, but you do need clear answers for the data your company handles. If a vendor can't explain what its app does with your information, don't put that app into a process that handles customer records or financial data. Permissions need the same level of care. An app may need permission to read sales orders, create shipments, post payments, or access records used by a new feature. Give it only the access it needs for the job. Then check which users receive the app as permission sets out. Because a helpful new function can create a security problem if it reaches people who shouldn't use it. Keep your own approval process involved. A department may spot a useful app and want it running immediately. When the app handles sensitive work, let the people responsible for IT, finance, security, and compliance review it first. That may feel slow at the start, but it beats discovering later that customer data traveled somewhere nobody approved. Updates deserve attention too. Extensions keep custom code separate from the standard Business Central application, which reduces the kind of repair work direct code changes can create. But an extension can still depend on Business Central functions, another app, or an outside service. If one part changes, the connection may need testing. Keep a short record for every installed extension. Write down its name, publisher, purpose, owner, support contact, permissions, outside services, and any other apps it depends on. When an update approaches, that list tells you what to test instead of leaving your team to guess which process might break. Less is often better. A long list of apps can create overlapping functions, unclear ownership, and more things to test. Keep an extension when it solves a real business need. Remove or retire it when that need disappears, and document what changes before you do. The goal isn't to avoid extensions. The goal is to know exactly what each extension does before it becomes part of your company, AOTM. This is daily work. Conclusion. Choose the right add-on. Here's the simple rule. A Business Central extension needs to fix one specific problem without touching the core code. Start with the real issue your team faces, test the add-on with actual work, check who built it and where your data goes, and make sure someone will support it after install. Subscribe and share this knowledge nugget with anyone who still believes you have to accept every default screen.